I hear you have some New Year's resolutions, or no? Did you skip those this year?
I am going to pick the Packers to win every week because I'm sold on them right now. They're playing very well.
Yes.
So, yes.
And you're going to have some better commentary on them?
Better commentary, yes, instead of acinine and stupid.
Well, I think your followers will disapprove.
I've had it right the last 3 weeks, so the score is the only thing that matters, isn't it?
Yeah.
What's wrong with Aaron Rodgers? What's wrong with him?
I don't know.
Something's wrong.
Nothing's really right with the Packers right now, at least on offense.
Something's wrong with him. He just doesn't look the same. He looks disinterested.
We can break down that. Packers coming up with a big playoff game at Washington this weekend, and maybe talk some Badgers as well with a bowl win since the last time we were on here, and obviously the meat of the Big Ten basketball schedule coming up
Diamond
here.
Stone in Kohl Center on Saturday.
We'll talk about that and more coming up here on this episode of Extra Points. What's up, everybody? Happy New Year. Welcome back to Extra Points, the first one of 2016. This is John Barry. I'm Eric Schmoldt. This is Extra Points, where we talk about local state sports. And obviously no bigger interest, I don't think, right now than the Green Bay Packers in the playoffs, even though
playoffs?
It doesn't have quite the same feeling as maybe some of these more recent Packers entries into the playoffs.
My question to you is, if Green Bay goes into Washington this Sunday and wins, which could happen, do fans forget about everything that's happened the last half of the season?
I think it will depend on how they do it.
Okay.
I mean, if they go in there and dominate Washington like we would have expected them to do for like 12 of the 17 weeks of the season, then maybe.
Right.
But if they just go in there and win by a point or something, I don't think anybody's forgetting about it, and then nobody's going to think they're going to win the next one.
I think it's a leaky boat right now, and I'm not sure that it's not going to sink and not going to sink fast. They're just an average at best football team right now, and the offensive line's terrible, just terrible, and Aaron Rodgers, we mentioned it in the introduction, he just doesn't seem to be himself, and I don't know if it's because of the line, if it's because he doesn't have any faith in his wide receivers, or what the problem is, but he just doesn't look like the Pro Bowl quarterback that we're used to seeing the last 5-6 years.
I think a lot of the comments I've heard this week are that he just looks irritated, and he's looked that way before, even when they were successful, but now it actually looks worse because they're not playing well.
Right, exactly.
But I don't know. There are also times where he's not making the throws that he used to make. He's not even throwing to the area that probably looks the right spot.
Even the last pass, the Hail Mary that or not the Hail Mary, the one to Jones that was intercepted.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
they pointed out on the broadcast they had the whole sideline to work with.
Yeah, he had the left side of the end zone to work with, and he didn't throw to that point, and he kind of threw it up where only the Viking guy could catch it, and he just he like you said, I think when things are going well and he's criticizing, nobody pays much attention to it. And now when they're not playing well, he seems selfish.
And
he
it
seems
snowballs.
And it does. And, I know one of our coworkers said, maybe the line's sending Rodgers a message like, hey, pal, we're not blocking for you because all you do is rip on everybody and you're part of the problem.
Well, I mean, they're so banged up and they've got guys playing positions they've maybe never played or haven't played since high school or college. So, I mean, that's not probably going to go well for most NFL teams. And I don't think
the defense is a problem. The defense has held their own. I mean, they've played pretty well. They didn't play well in Arizona, but that got away from them. But, the defense wasn't the problem against Minnesota. It was a lack of a running game and really McCarthy, that vanilla offense until it was too late, And I'm sorry, if I got Aaron Rodgers back there, I got to let him try to win the game and not, the running game with Starks and Lacey's been better, but it was pretty apparent that Minnesota defensively wasn't going to allow, the Packers to get loose on the ground. And I would have thought they would have gone to the air attack a little sooner than they did.
Now Washington, which, I mean, I don't know.
Kirk Cousins
has been pretty darn good.
Who was the highest rated quarterback the last 8 games of the year?
Yeah, the touchdown pass in every game in this year.
Kirk Cousins. He would have been maybe my 15th guess. I would have said Cam Newton or Russell Wilson, but no, it was Kirk Cousins.
But at the same time, I mean, it's hard for me to get past the fact that we're talking about the Washington Redskins.
Right.
It's like
in the worst division in football.
They can't be that good, and they come from this division where if you go finish 500, you have a chance to win the division.
Right.
What do you make of the Redskins?
Well, they're playing well. They're playing well at the right time, and they caught a break playing in a division with Dallas, the Giants, and Philadelphia, teams that weren't that good, and they found a way. And Cousins has been, the Redskins have been great at home, and that's where the Green Bay's headed. Obviously, Green Bay would have been much better off beating Minnesota, staying at home to play the Vikings again, and then going on the road and playing, either Arizona or Carolina. But it's a tough task, and they're just not playing well. But like I say, this is a chance for them to silence all the critics and get back to playing Packer football, and it starts with number 12. And if he's not on his game, or if he plays anything like he's played the last month, they're going to be one and done.
I think they win. I don't know. I don't know why. I watched them, and I don't see anything that I like, but I just think, God, it's the Packers and the Redskins. The Packers have to win.
All right, I'll take the Redskins. I think the Redskins, just because they're at home and they're kind of riding that train right now where things seem to be going well for them, that I'll take the Redskins by a touchdown.
What about the rest of the playoffs? To me, as we go in, it seems more wide open than I can really remember in many recent years.
AFC's wide open. I think with Manning coming back, you can say what you want about him, but he's still Peyton Manning, and they're playing at home. And New England's just so beat up right now. If they can get some guys healthy, that might make a difference. But I think in the AFC, wide open.
I mean,
can Andy Dalton play?
Right. The Steelers, I think, could be a dangerous team.
I agree.
D'Angelo Williams, we're not real sure if he's going to
play.
The
Texans,
Chiefs and the Texans are teams that, when you think about them in recent years, they don't scare you, but they've been good. I mean, the Chiefs won what? 10 in a row?
I can't even name the Texans quarterback. Who is it? Is it Hoyer?
Well, I'm not sure where they're down.
Or who?
I don't even know who they're down to.
I don't know who the coach. It's not J.J. Watt, but it probably
Yates,
could be.
I think of Yates. I think he tore his ACL or something.
Yeah,
so.
well, whoever it is, it's gotten them into the playoffs, but they run with their defense, obviously. In Kansas City, say what you want about Ron Rivera, but Andy Reid's got to get some votes for Coach of the Year for what he's done with the Chiefs, and they lost Jamal Charles, and that's a huge loss. And I think everybody, when they were 1-5 or 1-6, whatever they were, and sitting without Jamal Charles, everybody wrote them off.
And now they've won every game.
And now
since.
they've won every game since, and they are really on a roll going to the playoffs. But I don't expect them to come out of the AFC. I would still think it's either got to be New England or Denver, one of those two. And I think in the NFC, I really like Carolina. I think somebody's going to have to go in there and play really well and beat them at home. Certainly Seattle's on a run, but Seattle lost at home to the Rams a couple weeks ago. So, they're not –
Well, then the Rams lost to the Niners. It's I don't know what in the world's going on.
Who knows what's going on? I don't think Minnesota has any chance against Seattle. I think the best game of the four this weekend, in my book, is probably the Packer game. The Steelers and Bengals, if Dalton doesn't play, I would expect Pittsburgh to go in there and win.
I think I could have put all the AFC teams in here and all the NFC teams in here, and I should have just drawn one out of each, and that would have been my Super Bowl pick.
What is your Super Bowl pick?
I'm going to take the Panthers over the Steelers.
Panthers over the Steelers. Okay, I'm going to go with the Panthers over the Broncos. Going out on a limb and taking the two home field.
Two high seeds.
Yes, boy, I really went on a limb there.
The most open playoffs,
But after my brilliant World Series picks.
Well, yeah, exactly. We should just throw out, everyone should just throw out all these. It's going to be
don't bet on any of those teams.
It's going to be Houston and Washington.
Right. Well, that would be something. That'd be entertaining. Nobody'd watch it, but it'd be entertaining.
It's the Super Bowl. Everybody,
I know.
You're going to
watch for the halftime to watch Coldplay just light up the screen. So
yeah. How about Bucky? Since we last met, they
Jack Sitchie
beat USC. That's what we asked him to do. We wanted to see him beat somebody for the first time this season that was actually legit, and they did. So a nice way to finish the season.
Well, and somebody asked me the other day. They're like, how do you? They said they didn't think this was a successful season. I said, yeah, it was. I said Paul Chryst comes in. None of his guys. A lot of those players are on their third coach in 4 years, if you include Alvarez coaching the bowl game. And for them to go with 3 losses, 2 of them against teams that were, one of the top 5 teams, 6 teams in the country, Alabama may end up winning the whole thing. I would think it's a successful season just because they ended up with a bowl win. Those weren't his guys.
10 wins. And they played the teams that were on their schedule.
They got some talent coming back. There's especially on the defensive side. They lose Aranda, that hurts, but let's face it, we weren't going to pay anybody $1.1 million to be an assistant. That's not going to happen at Wisconsin. So I I guess I'm excited about the future. I think more so in football than I am in basketball. Basketball, they beat Rutgers, but I guess we'll really find out about the Badgers in basketball on Saturday with Diamond Stone and Maryland coming to the Kohl Center. We'll see if they can compete with them and play with them. Maybe, things aren't so bleak, but I don't see them finishing above 500 and getting an NCAA bid is going to be tough.
Right. I feel like we've all just kind of gone to this point thinking, well, they'll figure it out and get there. But game by game, it seems more and more likely that maybe there is no big dance this year.
No, it may be NIT or CBA or CNA or whatever they call that.
I would hope they would just decline a CBI.
Yeah, that's true. They could do that. But maybe they'll surprise us all and make a run and finish 10-6 in the Big Ten and find a way to get into the big dance.
What do you make of Greg Gard giving all this time to guys that weren't really seeing a whole bunch of time under Bo?
Well, I think obviously there's a difference in philosophy because Bo, especially with the younger kids, almost forced them to play defense. And if they didn't see the court. And I think with Jordan Hill, that's a good example of kids got some offensive skills. Does he hurt you on the defensive end? And I think Bo felt like he did, whereas Greg's given him a little opportunity to showcase his talent and his skills. And, so far he's been a nice contributor off the bench, and that's something they need. Ilkinen is another guy that can spot up and shoot that three, and, Bronson's been so inconsistent. They've got to find somebody to knock down outside shots. So I'm okay with it. It's just, like you said, they're so inconsistent. It's not sexy. No, it's not sexy. And you can't go – you can't have those 4 and 5 minute scoring droughts, and they seem to have those. And it's a good game, a bad game, a good game, a bad game. There's no flow to them right now. And like I say, with Indiana coming up tonight on the day we tape down in Assembly Hall, where I think they've won once or twice in the last 300 years or whatever it is, and then Maryland coming in on Saturday. Are we looking at 1-3? If that's the case, then it could be a long year. If they can split those two somehow, then it's 2-2, and you got Northwestern after that. So a lot depends on the Tuesday night game in Indiana, and if they can somehow sneak out of there with a win, Blackman's out for Indiana, then who knows?
Just keep waiting and seeing at this team.
I do too.
It'll be the same way for football too, especially because the schedule beefs up a lot more next year. So times that we're not used to in the last few years, but
we're spoiled.
We've been there before. You've been in worse spots with the Badgers before.
I've been in a lot worse
I don't remember
spots.
those days very much. But
I can go back to Don Morton era if you'd like, but I'm not going to because
it
gives me a headache.
That's pretty much all we got for this week. Big high school games coming up this weekend, though.
Big games, good games.
Janesville Craig boys at Matt's Memorial on Friday. The
Whitewater girls at Broadhead
Thursday night. Craig girls host Middleton girls Saturday night.
And I think Evansville East Troy boys are playing.
I think that's next
week. Yeah. So there's some big, entertaining games. Get out to a local school and get a chance. There's some good area teams and some really good area players.
We're going to know a lot more about kind of where some of these area teams stand in their conferences a week from now.
Yep, exactly.
Hope you enjoyed the show. Let us know if you're happy to see it back in 2016 or if you've made a resolution that we should just bag it all together.
Yes. Send us your comments, good or bad. We don't care.
You can email us at sports@gazetteextra.com or find us on Twitter or leave us a review on YouTube or iTunes, and we might even read it here on the show.
We might. We probably will.
Thanks to Kevin McLeod for the music and producer Andrew Ryder for making it all happen.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Take it easy.